You, he said in a deep voice, have brought shame to this family. Folak froze. Father? A council member has told me everything, the king roared. You spend your nights playing with machines. You work with hackers. You sneak out of the palace like a thief. Folak shook her head. It's not what you think. I'm building something to help people. A free tech is for children. Enough! The king shouted. King Adetunde and Queen Kemi lived in a grand palace surrounded by golden pillars and colorful flowers. Their home was filled with laughter, the sound of drums, and the smell of sweet jollof rice. The kingdom of Ile-Ife was peaceful, blessed with cool rivers and smiling children playing in dusty streets. The people adored their rulers, who were just and kind. The king and queen were blessed with two wonderful children. Their son, Prince Adewale, was a quiet leader from the time he was little. He learned quickly, spoke slowly, and always listened before he talked. When he followed his father into meetings with elders, he sat with his back straight and hands on his knees. He greeted every person with a bow of respect. Even the market women loved him. That boy has a good heart, they would say. Adewale was being prepared for the crown. He read books on war and peace. He practiced giving speeches. He joined his father on horseback, riding across the kingdom and waving to the villagers. Everyone agreed he would make a fine king one day. Then there was Princess Folak. From the moment she could crawl, she reached for things, pots, spoons, wires, anything she could take apart. She was small and full of energy, always asking questions no one had answers to. What makes the moon shine? Can I make a talking bird with wires? Why do computers blink when you press them? She was not interested in gowns or beads. She preferred puzzles, buttons, and blinking lights. At 5 years old, she opened her toy drum to see where the sound came from. At 7, she started building new toys from broken ones. Queen Kemi watched her daughter with a mix of pride and worry. She is full of wonder, she told the king, but a princess must also be graceful. She must prepare to be a wife. The queen hoped Folak would marry into a royal family one day, wearing silk and gold, sitting beside a prince, and giving birth to strong sons. But Folak had other ideas. She wanted to understand how things worked. She dreamed of building tools to help people. She didn't care for ball dances or fancy bows. When her tutors taught her how to walk properly, she was secretly drawing diagrams in her notebook. She began collecting books, old ones hidden deep in the palace library, books about machines, robots, and the human brain. She taught herself to code, using pages torn from dusty tech manuals. At night, when the stars covered the sky like tiny diamonds, she pulled out a secret laptop. It was hidden behind a loose stone in her wall. She charged it using a small solar panel she built herself. Tap, tap, tap. Her fingers danced on the keyboard. Every night she created something new. She didn't sleep much. Her dreams lived in the code. She failed many times. Her screen would freeze and her heart would drop. But she always tried again. I will build something for my people, she told herself. Something that will last longer than gold. She had an idea, a free learning app, an app that would teach children how to code, just like she had learned, but in their own languages: Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Fulani, Iwe. She called it a free tech. The palace was quiet by day, but loud at night with music and stories. Folak hid her app like a secret gem, only showing it to the stars. She added a bright cartoon guide, a dancing avatar who welcomed children in a cheerful voice. She added games, quizzes, and stories. She made it simple for a child to use, even without help. Only one person in the palace noticed her change: her brother. Prince Adewale saw her glowing face each morning, her tired eyes, her growing confidence. He began to wonder. One sunny afternoon, he found her sketching patterns on a leaf in the garden. What are you working on this time, Folake? He asked, sitting next to her. She covered the leaf. Just drawing. He raised an eyebrow. You were up late again, weren't you? Folake sighed. Yes. But please don't tell father. Are you in danger? No, she whispered. But they won't understand. Adewale leaned closer. Help me understand. Folake looked into his eyes. She saw trust. I'm making an app for children to teach them how to use computers. It speaks their language. It helps them dream. Adewale blinked. That sounds like a miracle. It's not, she said. It's hard work, but it's working. He touched her shoulder gently. You're brave. I could never do what you're doing, but you must be careful. Because of father? Because of Chief Olufemi? Folake rolled her eyes. That old man still thinks thunder comes from drums in the sky. Adewale chuckled. He is powerful. He speaks, and father listens. He fears change, Folake said. Yes, Adewale replied. And change makes kings nervous. She looked down. But if we don't change, how do we grow? Show me one day, Adewale said. I want to see your world. Far from the garden, inside a dark chamber of the palace, Chief Olufemi leaned on his cane. His voice was sharp and cold. Your daughter walks in the night, he told the king. She plays with things we do not understand. King Adetunde frowned. My daughter reads. She learns. Too much learning can break tradition, Olufemi warned. She reaches for powers that may tear this kingdom apart. The king was quiet. He remembered his own father warning him about books once. He remembered disobeying, but now he was the ruler. He had to protect peace. I will watch her closely, the king said at last. Chief Olufemi bowed. For the good of the kingdom. Outside the chamber, the wind carried whispers. The guards exchanged glances. The palace felt different. Something was coming. Princess Folake continued her work. She didn't know that soon her world would change. She didn't know someone was already watching. The moon was high when Princess Folake sat at her desk, her laptop screen glowing faintly in the dark room. Her eyes moved quickly, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. Line after line of code filled the screen. She was organizing the files for a free tech, her secret app that taught children how to code in their local languages. She placed everything inside a hidden folder named Butterfly Songs and locked it with a powerful password. Then, she moved the folder to a small silver drive. The drive had special protection software that scrambled the data if anyone tried to open it without permission. Safe, she whispered. My dreams are safe. The next step was testing. She needed real children to use the app. I want to know if they like it, she said to herself. I want to see them smile while they learn. That morning she wore a simple blue dress and went to a local school in the village near the palace. Her parents thought she was going for charity work. The teachers welcomed her with bows and smiles. Princess Folake, what an honor, said Madam Bisi, the school head. The children will be happy to see you. Folake smiled warmly. Can I sit with them today? I want to read and play together. The class was full of bright eyes and busy hands. Folake opened her bag and took out a small tablet. She showed them a free tech. This is a game, she said softly, but it's also a way to learn something very special. One boy with missing front teeth asked, Can I press it? Yes, she laughed. Try it. The app opened. A colorful screen appeared. A cartoon girl waved and said in Yoruba, Kabo, let us learn together. The children clapped and giggled. Soon they were tapping buttons, solving puzzles, and laughing together. Folake watched with tears in her eyes. Her heart was full. Her idea was working. Later that night, she met Tunde in their secret room in the city. It was hidden behind a small shop that sold spare phone parts. They loved it, she said, still smiling. Tunde looked up from his laptop. Told you, I knew they would. Kids are smart. They just need the right tools. She placed the drive on the table. I saved everything. No one must ever find this. Tunde nodded. Not even your royal family? Not yet, she said. They won't understand. But things were changing fast. At the palace, Queen Kemi was growing more worried. She disappears too often, the queen told King Adetunde. She must focus on her future, on marriage, on duty. The king sighed. She is still young. Not too young for responsibility. Prince Adekunle from the Western Kingdom has asked for her hand. He is rich. He is royal. Let us speak to her, the king said. Together. Folake was called to the main chamber the next morning. She walked in slowly, her heart beating fast. My child, said Queen Kemi, smiling. We have good news. Yes, mother. You are to meet Prince Adekunle at the royal gala. He is from a strong house. It is time you prepare to become a queen. Folake's lips parted. She did not know what to say. Her hands grew cold. But I have plans, she said quietly. I am working on something important. What could be more important than your future? Queen Kemi asked gently. Folake looked at her father. He said nothing. She bowed her head and left the room. That evening, she met Tunde again, but the roads were not safe. As he walked to the meeting place, 2 police officers stopped him. You, said one, where are you going so late? Just to visit a friend, Tunde said calmly. You look like a hacker. What are you hiding? Show us your bag. Tunde refused. They took him away. Folake waited for hours. When he didn't come, she began to panic. She wore a long scarf and rushed to the police station. She showed her royal badge. Where is the boy you arrested? She demanded. The officer stood stiff. He is in the cell. He refused to speak. Release him, she said. Now. They hesitated. He might be dangerous. I will take full responsibility. He is not dangerous. He is my friend. They unlocked the cell. Tunde walked out slowly, bruised but proud. Thank you, he said. Folak took his hand. We must be careful. They are watching. We are doing something big, he whispered. Big things are never easy. Back in the secret room, they added a few changes to the app. Tunde fixed a bug. Folake recorded a new voiceover in Igbo. They added a feature that let kids draw their own coding stories. Within a week, the first test version was ready. They sent it to 10 children. Every single one loved it. This game makes me feel smart, one girl wrote. Can I learn more? Asked another boy. Folake cried that night. We did it, she said. We made something real. Now what? Tunde asked. She wiped her tears. Now we go big. The royal gala was close. It would be a night of dancing, speeches, and fine clothes. People from every kingdom would attend. Folake knew she would have to smile and sit beside Prince Adekunle. She wore a silver gown, her hair tied with golden beads. Her parents beamed with pride as she entered the ballroom. She smiled politely, bowed and shook hands. But her mind was far away. Princess Folake stood tall in her silver gown, her hands folded in front of her. People clapped, danced, and laughed. But Folake's mind was not on the party. She could still hear the children's laughter from the school. She could still see their eyes shining as they learned to code. That was the sound of real joy. She turned her head when she heard a calm voice call her name. Princess Folak. She looked up. A tall man in a black suit stood before her. He had a short beard, shiny shoes, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Yes, she said politely. Chief Olufemi, he said, holding out his hand. I run tech core systems. We build software for governments, schools, and banks. Folak shook his hand gently. I've heard of your company. It's very successful. And I've heard of you, he replied with a little nod. A princess who enjoys technology. She blinked. You know about that? He laughed softly. Oh, my dear. In my line of work, we hear everything. She smiled nervously. I like to learn. That's all. Learning is power. he said. And young people like you hold the future in your hands. Folake nodded, unsure how to respond. Tell me, he said as he leaned in a little closer. Have you built anything interesting? Folak looked away. Just small things. You don't have to be shy. I love ideas, especially fresh ones. Folak tried to change the topic. Are you enjoying the gala? Of course, he said, but I enjoy smart conversations more. Later that night, back in her room, Folak paced the floor. Her mind kept going back to that conversation. There was something about Chief Olufemi that felt wrong. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Be careful who you trust. They're watching you. Her heart froze. She read it again. She ran to her desk and locked her laptop. Then she picked up her phone and called Tunde. We have a problem, she whispered. An hour later, they met in their hidden room in the city. What happened? Tunde asked. Folake handed him the phone. He read the message and frowned. This isn't a joke. I met someone at the gala, she said. Chief Olufemi from Tech Corps. He knew things I didn't tell anyone. Tunde stood up and began typing on his laptop. Tech Corps, Olufemi. Let's see. Minutes passed. The screen filled with links, photos, news articles. He's rich, Tunde said. But that's not all. He's been in court many times, accused of stealing software from young developers, accused of shutting them down before they could grow. Folake's face turned pale. Why hasn't anyone stopped him? Money speaks, Tunde said, and he has a lot of it. He clicked another link. Here, look at this. A girl from Kenya built a school app. 1 week later, Olufemi launched something very similar. She disappeared. Folak sat down slowly. Her hands were shaking. He asked me about a free tech. I didn't say much, but he was listening, watching. Tunde turned to her. We need to move faster, encrypt everything, back up every file, and hide copies in places no one can find. They spent the whole night doing just that. Passwords were changed. Files were hidden. The free tech was now in 3 secret drives, one of them placed behind a wall tile in their secret room. But the next day, something worse happened. Folak found a letter on her bed. It was unsigned. The chief knows. Someone in the palace told him. She read it twice, then again. Her throat went dry. Tunde, she called on the phone. We have a leak. They met in the park that evening, sitting under a quiet mango tree. Who could it be? Tunde asked. I don't know, but someone I live with has betrayed me. That means it could be a maid, a guard, even a family member. Folak looked down. Her heart hurt. I wanted to help children. I didn't want to become a target. Tunde touched her hand. We're not giving up. We're not afraid. We'll stay ahead of them. She nodded, but inside, she felt the weight of danger for the first time. The dream that once gave her wings now placed her in a cage. The palace was filled with shouting. Servants rushed through the hallways. The sound of angry footsteps echoed across the marble floors. Princess Folake woke up to the noise. She sat up in bed, confused. Her heart raced. A maid burst into the room, her face pale. Princess, the king wants to see you, right now. Folak stood up slowly. What happened? I don't know, the maid whispered, but he is very angry. Folak quickly changed into a simple wrapper and followed the maid down the long corridor. The palace, usually calm in the morning, was full of tension. Guards stood stiff, eyes forward. The queen stood at the top of the stairs, arms folded, her face hard. What did you do, Folak? Queen Kemi asked sharply. I don't understand, Folak said. What is happening? Go inside, the queen said. Folak stepped into the royal chamber. Her father, King Adetunde, stood in front of his throne. His face was red with anger. You, he said in a deep voice, have brought shame to this family. Folak froze. Father? A council member has told me everything, the king roared. You spend your nights playing with machines. You work with hackers. You sneak out of the palace like a thief. Folak shook her head. It's not what you think. I'm building something to help people. A free tech is for children. Enough, the king shouted. You are a princess. You are not a builder, not a coder, not a creator. You are not to touch technology again. Folake took a step forward. But I've worked so hard. It is helping kids. Please, just listen. I have listened enough, the king said. You will stop this madness. If you do not, I will take away your privileges. No more guards, no more outings, no more royal rights. Folek stood still. Her hands trembled. She wanted to cry, but she held back the tears. Do you understand me? The king asked. Folake looked into his eyes. Yes, father, I understand. She walked out slowly. As she passed her mother, Queen Kemi whispered, You brought this on yourself. Folak didn't respond. She returned to her room and closed the door. She sat on the floor and buried her face in her hands. Her dream was falling apart. A few hours later, her phone buzzed. It was Tunde. Folak, he said, his voice tight. We have a big problem. She sat up. What now? They got in. Chief Olufemi's people. His hackers broke into Afritech. They didn't just look around. They copied files. They changed code. How? She asked, panicking. We encrypted everything. Someone gave them access. Someone close. Someone from your side. Folak's heart sank. No, that can't be. They didn't break the door, Tunda said. They were let in. Folake stood up. She began pacing. Her hands were shaking. Who would do that? I don't know yet, Tunda replied, but I will find out. She ended the call and sat quietly. Her mind raced. Someone in her own home had betrayed her. She remembered every smile, every friendly word, every servant who helped her, every guard who opened the gate. Could one of them be the traitor? Or worse, someone in her own family? A knock came at the door. It was her brother, Adewale. I heard what happened, he said softly. Did you tell them? She asked. He looked hurt. No, I would never. They want me to stop, to give it all up. Will you? She looked him in the eyes. No, I can't. This means too much. Adewale sat beside her. Then you must be ready. Things will get harder now. Folake nodded. I know, but I'm not afraid. That night she met Tunde again. They checked the system. Some lessons were changed. The cartoon girl no longer spoke in Yoruba. Some languages were missing. They want to break it from the inside, Tunde said, to make it weak. But why? Because it's powerful, he replied, and people like Chief Olufemi don't want to share power. They worked all night to fix it. They added stronger locks, better codes. They saved copies on new drives. Just before dawn, Tunde said, We can protect it, but we need to be careful. Folake nodded. We can't trust anyone now. She returned to the palace before sunrise. Her feet were sore, her eyes heavy. She crept back to her room, but as she opened the door, she found her mother waiting inside. You are out again, Queen Kemi said. Folak said nothing. The king will be told, her mother said. You must stop this foolishness. You have duties. I am doing something that matters, Folaka replied. What matters is your family, your future. My future is mine, Folak said. Queen Kemi walked to the window. Then you should know, your father has decided. You are to begin preparing for marriage, a royal marriage. Folak stared. What? A prince from the southern kingdom has asked for your hand. The king has said yes. You will meet him next week. Folake felt the world spinning. No, I won't do it. You don't have a choice, Queen Kemi said coldly. Folake stood tall. Then I will make one. The sun rose gently over Ile-Ife, casting soft golden light on the palace grounds. Inside her room, Princess Folak stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the collar of her sky blue dress. Her heart thumped with excitement. Today was the day. The Royal Technology Summit. Every year, kings, queens, tech leaders, and ministers from across Africa gathered to share ideas and celebrate innovation. This time, Folake had been given a precious opportunity to speak. She was going to present a free tech to the world. She had barely slept. She and Tunda had gone over the presentation 100 times. They had updated the app, tested every feature, and backed up every file. Today, she whispered to her reflection, they will see what I've built. They will understand. Her brother Adewale knocked and stepped in. You look ready, he said. I feel ready, Folake replied, though her fingers were cold. He handed her a flash drive. One last backup. Keep it close. Thank you, she said, placing it in her small purse. Soon, she arrived at the grand hall, where the summit was being held. Red carpets covered the floor. Flags of different nations waved proudly from tall poles. Reporters held cameras. Royal guards lined the walls. Folake walked past them with grace, her head held high. The room was full of important people. Ministers, business owners, developers, students. Chief Olufemi was there too, standing by a tall banner with the TechCore logo. He smiled as she walked past, but it was not a warm smile. It was sharp, like a knife. Folake took the stage. The lights dimmed. The crowd became quiet. She looked around. Her father was sitting in the front row, arms crossed. Her mother beside him, face blank. She took a deep breath. Good morning. My name is Princess Folak of Ile Ife. I stand here not as a royal, but as a dreamer, a builder, a teacher. The screen behind her came to life. A bright blue logo appeared. A free tech. A free tech is not just an app, she said. It is a doorway, a tool for every child, no matter where they come from. People began to nod. It teaches coding in our own languages, she continued, so our children can build, create, and lead the future. She tapped her tablet to show the first demo. The screen froze. She tapped again. Nothing happened. She tried her laptop. It blinked, then turned black. Just a small delay, she said with a nervous smile. She opened the app on her phone. Error message. She tried another tablet. Access denied. Her voice cracked. Please hold on. Just a moment. People began to whisper. Folake turned pale. She opened the folder where all her backup files were saved. Empty. Her fingers trembled. She typed in her master password. Account locked. She stepped back, eyes wide with fear. The entire app was gone. Every lesson, every file, every voice, gone. She turned to look at Tunde, who was sitting in the third row. He shook his head slowly. His eyes said it all. They had been hacked again. Suddenly, Chief Olufemi stood up. Princess, he said smoothly, that was unexpected. But do not worry. TechCore Systems has the tools to help you. Folake stared at him. With our resources, he continued, we can restore your project. We can even improve it. All I ask is that you let TechCore take the lead. She felt sick. You want me to give it to you? Not give, he said. Share. Sign the rights to TechCore. Let us carry your dream. The room was silent. Folake's voice rose. You stole it. You copied my files. You destroyed my work. Now you want to own it? Those are big words for a small problem, Olufemi replied. Folake stepped away from the microphone. No, I will not sign anything. I will not give you a free tech. People in the crowd murmured. Some clapped. Others looked confused. Folake left the stage quickly, holding back tears. Her heart felt like it was splitting in two. She wanted to scream. She wanted to disappear. Tunde caught up with her outside. They took everything, even our offline backups. How? Someone helped them again, from inside. She clenched her fists. I won't give up. We will start again. We will rebuild everything from scratch if we have to. We will, Tunde said firmly. But we have to be smarter. They are watching every move now. As they spoke, the sky darkened. Rain began to fall. It was soft at first, then heavy. Folake didn't care. She stood in the rain, face lifted, eyes closed. "Let them try to stop me," she whispered. But her strength was tested that same evening. When she returned to the palace, her usual path was blocked. A royal guard stepped forward. "Princess, your access has been restricted by royal order." "Restricted? What do you mean?" "You may not enter the tech lab." "Where is my laptop?" she asked. "It has been removed for inspection." Her phone buzzed. A message from her bank app appeared. "Access denied." Another message. Her royal allowance account was frozen. She turned to the guard again. "Who gave the order?" "His Majesty, the King." She stood there in silence, rain still falling around her. Everything she had worked for, everything she believed in, was being stripped away piece by piece. The king had finally had enough. The palace no longer felt like home. It felt like a cage. Folake sat quietly on her bed, the moonlight creeping through her window. Her heart thudded like a drum in her chest. Her laptop was gone, her accounts frozen, and the king had taken away her right to create. There was nothing left to wait for. She took a deep breath, grabbed a small satchel from under her bed, and placed her old backup laptop inside. Her phone and some cash were hidden in a cloth pouch tied around her waist. She wore a dark hoodie and plain slippers. "If I stay, I will lose everything," she whispered to herself. She slipped out through the servants' corridor, dodging guards and shadows. The night air was cool, and the stars above seemed to blink in silent support. When she reached the back gate, her legs trembled. But she didn't look back, not once. Tunde had told her exactly where to go. The neighborhood was nothing like the palace. The buildings were old and close together. Motorcycles sped past. Laughter came from dimly lit rooms. Street vendors cooked late-night food, and dogs barked in the distance. She stopped in front of a small gate covered in graffiti. No sign, no light, just silence. Folake knocked twice, then once, just as Tunde instructed. The gate creaked open. Tunde stood on the other side. "You made it." She nodded, her eyes full of tears. "I had to." He pulled her into a hug. "Come inside, you're safe now." The house was small but full of life. Rows of glowing computer screens lit the dark room. Wires hung from the ceiling. Laptops sat on crates. Young people worked at desks, their fingers moving fast across keyboards. In the corner stood a woman with red dreadlocks and wide eyes behind thick glasses. She turned and smiled. "You must be Folake. I'm BC." "I've heard about you," Folake said softly. "And I've heard about you too," BC replied. "The royal rebel." Folake smiled weakly. "Welcome to our lab. This is where the forgotten become fearless," BC said. Folake looked around in awe. There were kids no older than her, coding tools she had only read about, and wall screens filled with numbers and codes. This is amazing," she whispered. BC nodded. "It's our world. We protect it." Tunde led her to a seat beside his workstation. "We heard what happened," BC said, sitting across from her. "Olufemi already filed the paperwork. He wants to make a free tech his." 3 days, Tunde added. "That's all we have." Folake clenched her fists. "We can't let him win." "Then let's get started," BC said. They plugged in Folake's laptop. It flickered to life. The screen was slow, but the code inside was powerful. "These are the original files," Tunde said. "We'll build a wall around them," BC added. "A wall no one can break." The team began working. Each person had a job. Some guarded the files. Others built traps for any system trying to steal the code. BC rewrote the encryption with layers only Folake could unlock. "We're fighting a tech war," BC explained, "and every second matters." Folake didn't sleep. Her eyes burned, but she stayed up. She watched her dream being protected by strangers who believed in her. At sunrise, the first attack came. "Intrusion detected," one of the teens shouted. "Block it," BC yelled. "I'm trying, but it's fast. It's AI assisted." "That means Olufemi hired the best," Tunde muttered. Folake jumped in. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She wrote a blocker herself and launched it. "Blocked!" the teen cheered. Everyone clapped. "That was all you," Tunde said. "No," Folake said. "It was us." Later that day, her face appeared on every TV in the country. "Princess Folake has been disowned by the royal family," the reporter said. "She is accused of digital crimes and has been removed from the line of succession." Folake watched silently. Her throat ached. Her chest felt heavy. "They erased me," she whispered. Bisi placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let them. You don't need their crown to lead." But the worst was yet to come. That evening, one of Bisi's hackers rushed into the room. Folake, the king. He signed the papers. "What papers?" she asked, though she already knew. "The partnership. TechCore is now the official owner of a free tech." Folake sat down slowly. The world spun. Her hands shook. "My father gave it away, just like that." "He doesn't know what he gave away," Bisi said. Tears rolled down Folek's cheeks. Tunde knelt in front of her and took her hands gently. "You haven't lost everything," he said. "You still have your mind, and I know a way we can win." Folake sat in the dim light of Bisi's tech room, her eyes locked on the glowing screen in front of her. Every file, every password, every code they needed was just out of reach. The walls around TechCore's systems were like iron. Even with the help of the best hackers, they couldn't get through. "Chief Olufemi has locked everything down," Tunde said, frustrated. "We can't just break into his company. He has layers of digital protection, traps, alerts. One wrong step, and he'll know we're coming." Folake sat back in her chair. Her hands dropped to her lap. "So what do we do? Give up?" she asked softly. Tunde looked at her, his eyes calm. "No, we don't go after the company. We go after the man." Bisi turned from her monitor. "You mean his private files? The ones he keeps offline?" Tunde nodded. "Exactly. Olufemi doesn't trust the cloud. He stores everything important on a private server inside his mansion. He thinks it makes him untouchable." Folake sat up straighter. "If we can get those files, then we can show the world what he really is," Bisi finished. They gathered around a digital map of the mansion. The house was huge, with tall walls, cameras at every corner, and guards with dogs. But they found a weakness, a blind spot near the back fence, next to the gardener's shed. "If we get in through there," Bisi said, tracing the route, "we can reach the west wing without being seen. That's where his server room is." "And how do we know that?" Folake asked. "Because I dated one of his guards," Bisi said with a smirk. "He talks too much." They laughed, but the tension remained. "We need a distraction," Tunde said. Folake stood. "I'll do it." "It's dangerous," Tunde warned. "I'm already a target. What's one more risk?" 2 nights later, a high-profile event was held at the Royal Tech Hall. Chief Olufemi was the guest of honor. Folake dressed in a sleek black dress and wore a press badge marked Tech Weekly. Her hair was tied in a bun, and she wore glasses to hide her face. She entered the building slowly, blending in with the crowd of journalists and investors. Chief Olufemi stood on the stage, talking about innovation and the future of Africa. His voice was smooth, full of lies. Folake approached him after the speech. "Chief Olufemi, may I ask you a few questions for a story I'm writing?" she asked politely. He turned, clearly enjoying the attention. "Of course, young lady. How do you feel about the recent accusations surrounding TechCore?" He frowned. "Accusations? Lies from angry children. I have nothing to hide." "And what about Princess Folake's claim that you stole her work?" He smiled tightly. "She is no longer a princess, is she? Let's focus on the future, not the past." While they spoke, Bisi and Tunde slipped through the shadows outside his mansion. Tunde picked the back lock while Bisi disabled the nearest camera. "We're in," Tunde whispered into the comms. They moved quickly, staying low. The house was quiet. Too quiet. They avoided the main hall, ducking through servants' doors and side halls. At last, they reached the server room. "Here it is," Bissy said. "Let's find out what he's hiding." She plugged in a small device that bypassed the login system. It lit up green. "We're in." Files flashed across the screen. Contracts, secret deals, stolen software, private emails. "Oh my goodness," Tunde whispered. "He's done worse than we thought. Money laundering, tech theft, spying on government systems. This man is a criminal king." Bissy copied everything onto a hard drive. But then a light blinked red. "Wait," Bissy said. "Something's wrong." The alarm blared. "They know we're here!" "Run!" Tunde shouted. They grabbed the drive and sprinted down the hall. Lights flashed. Guards shouted. Dogs barked. They reached the garden just in time. Bissy jumped the wall first. Tunde followed, barely dodging a dart that flew past his ear. Back at the event, Folake's phone buzzed. "We have the files, but we triggered the alarm. Get out." Folake turned to leave, but it was too late. 2 guards grabbed her arms. "Let go of me." They dragged her through the crowd and into a private room. Chief Olufemi entered slowly, clapping. "Well played, princess," he said, "but not smart enough." She struggled. "You're a thief. You stole a free tech. You've lied to everyone." He smirked. "You should have accepted my offer. Now you'll regret it." Folak stared at him, her chest rising and falling. She had to get out of this alive. Folak stood in front of Chief Olufemi, her hands tied behind her back, guards on each side. The room was cold, quiet. Olufemi smiled like he had already won. He didn't call the police. He didn't have to. He leaned close and whispered, "Here's my offer. Sign the rights to a free tech over to TechCore. Do that, and I let you walk away. Don't, and your life will be ruined." Folak raised her chin. "I'd rather lose everything than let a thief steal my dream." Olufemi narrowed his eyes. "Then so be it." The next day, Folake woke up in a safe house. Tunde had managed to get her out while Olufemi ordered damage. Bissy handed her a newspaper. The headline read, "Disgraced Princess Folake, the criminal royalty." Folake stared at the front page. Her photo was large, and the article was filled with lies. It claimed she had stolen national tech data, that she had teamed up with cyber gangs, and that she was a danger to the kingdom. The palace had also released a statement. Princess Folake is no longer associated with the royal family. Her actions are her own and are not supported by the crown. Folake's lips trembled. She dropped the paper. "They really did it," she said. Tunde sat beside her. "They think they've won, but they haven't." Bissy ran into the room, holding her phone. "Folake, check the news." Folake picked up her phone. A live news broadcast was playing. "We interrupt this program with breaking news," the reporter said. "An anonymous source has just released files linking Chief Olufemi to years of cybercrimes." A video played on screen. It showed Olufemi approving illegal transfers, forging documents, and bragging in emails about stolen tech ideas. "We have confirmation that these files are real," the reporter continued. "Government officials are reacting swiftly. TechCore's shares have dropped by 65% in less than 2 hours. Tunde smiled. "We did it." "How?" Folake asked. "The files we got from his server. We cleaned them, encrypted them, and dropped them into the hands of every journalist in the country." Bissy laughed. "He thought he was clever. He didn't know he was writing his own ending." Folake watched as another video aired. Emails between Olufemi and corrupt officials, receipts from shady bank accounts, and plans to shut down youth tech programs to sell fake ones through TechCore. People were already protesting outside TechCore buildings. Investors were leaving. Government agents had begun moving into Olufemi's offices. BC turned to Folake. "Now it's your turn." "To do what?" "Take back your name. Go home." Folake stood slowly. "The palace won't let me in." "But the people will," Tunde said. And now, the world is watching. That evening, Folake stood at the gates of the royal palace. Guards stepped forward, weapons raised. "You have no right to be here," one said. But then a voice from behind shouted, "Let her in." Another followed, then another. Crowds had gathered outside the gates. Men, women, and children stood holding signs. "She gave us a free tech. We believe her. Let the truth speak." The guards looked confused. The people were not angry. They were cheering. The noise grew. Reporters arrived. Cameras clicked. Phones filmed. At last, the gates opened. King Adetunde stood on the palace steps, his robe heavy with gold, his crown tall. He looked tired. "Let her come in," he said. Folake walked through the gates slowly, passing the crowd. They clapped, they waved, some cried. Inside, the royal court was gathered. Queen Kemi sat beside the king. Her face was hard. Folake stood in front of them. "You told the world I was a traitor, but I never betrayed my people. I only tried to build something that would help us grow." The king said nothing. A big screen behind her lit up. Tunde appeared via video call. "These are the files we found inside Chief Olufemi's system," he said. "This is proof that he stole from your daughter and from many others." The crowd inside the hall watched in silence as evidence after evidence filled the screen. When the last video played, Chief Olufemi was shown laughing in a private meeting. "Let them cry," he said in the video. "I'll take their dreams and make them mine." The silence broke. Gasps, whispers, shouts. King Adetunde stood. He looked at his daughter. "I made a mistake. I believed the wrong people." Folake said nothing. Suddenly, loud steps echoed in the hallway. Police officers entered, walking fast. "Chief Olufemi," one of them announced, "you are under arrest for fraud, cybercrimes, and theft." Olufemi, standing near the back of the hall, turned pale. He didn't fight. He didn't speak. They handcuffed him and walked him out. The people outside cheered. Folake took the stage. She looked into the cameras, into the eyes of her people. "I am not just a princess," she said. "I am a builder, a teacher, and a dreamer. A free tech is for all of us. For every child who wants to learn. For every girl who wants to create. I stand with you." The crowd erupted in applause. And just like that, she was finally free. The palace, once tense and heavy with judgment, now carried a quiet hum of hope. The echoes in the marble halls were softer, the footsteps lighter, and the air held the scent of fresh blossoms brought in by handmaidens for the day's gathering. Outside the palace gates, the city was alive with drums, and the chatter of a people awakened. Word of Chief Olufemi's arrest had spread like wildfire, and for the first time in weeks, the people of Ile-Ife smiled without worry. Inside, the royal council convened in the sacred chamber, the same chamber where Folake had once stood, accused and dismissed. But now, papers were scattered across the table. Evidence, apologies, plans. Chief Ajani, his face older than ever, placed his hands flat on the table and spoke quietly. "We failed her. We failed our people." Others nodded. Even the proudest voices had softened. By noon, a royal town crier stood on the palace balcony, his voice ringing out over the courtyard. "By decree of His Majesty King Adetunde and the Royal Council of Ile-Ife, Princess Folake is hereby restored to her rightful position in the royal family." People below broke into cheers. In the markets, women clapped their hands. At schoolyards, children hugged one another. In tech cafes across the city, coders raised their mugs in silent celebration. The palace gates opened wide. Courtiers decorated every pillar with golden cloth and green palm. The main courtyard shimmered under the afternoon sun. Large bowls of petals were placed at every corner. Dancers prepared in the wings, their bodies painted with symbols of unity. Folake stood at the edge of the crowd, dressed not in silk but in white cotton. Her gown was simple, but the glow on her face outshone any jewel. As she stepped forward, the people parted like waves. They looked at her not just as a princess, but as someone who had walked through fire and returned whole. King Adetunde stood tall on the platform. His royal robe flowed in the wind. For the first time, he looked not like a ruler, but like a man asking for forgiveness. "My people," he began, his voice steady, "we gather not to celebrate a crown, but to honor a truth." The courtyard fell silent. "I have made many decisions as king," he continued. "Some have brought peace, others have brought pain, but none have weighed heavier than the day I turned away from my daughter." He looked at Folak, his eyes filled with quiet sorrow. "I thought I was guarding tradition. I see now I was guarding fear." He stepped down from the stage and walked toward her. Slowly, he knelt. Gasps spread through the crowd. "Forgive me, Folak, not as your king, but as your father." Tears rolled down cheeks in every corner of the courtyard. Folak bent down and helped him up. "We cannot change the past, but we can shape tomorrow." Queen Kemi approached next. Her face was soft, her voice barely above a whisper. "I see now that strength doesn't always wear armor. Sometimes it wears glasses and carries a laptop. I was wrong to fear what I didn't understand." She took Folak's hand and kissed it gently. "You taught me how to be brave." Folak nodded, her voice quiet. "Thank you, mother." Then the council stepped forward. Chief Ajani held a scroll trimmed in emerald silk. "For centuries, we have passed down wisdom in the form of rules. But today, we pass on something new, an invitation to grow." He unrolled the scroll and read aloud. "We hereby establish the Folake Institute for Digital Advancement, a place of learning and light, where every child shall discover the power of code, creativity, and connection." Children in the crowd screamed with joy. Parents wept openly. Folak stood still, barely breathing. She turned to see her brother Adewale, dressed in royal blue, standing with his hands behind his back. He walked up and stood beside her. "You did what I couldn't," he said with a smile. "You changed a kingdom without a sword." Folak looked at him. "You never needed a sword, just your voice." He stepped onto the stage and faced the crowd. "When I ascend the throne, I promise this. Our kingdom will honor its past, but never fear its future. We will be guardians of history and champions of change. Innovation will be the new tradition." The people erupted. Cheers, applause. Songs began to rise from the back of the crowd. Children ran up to Folake and hugged her legs. "You made a free tech," one girl shouted. "Can we come to your school?" a boy asked. Folake knelt down and smiled at them. "Not just come, you will help build it." As the sun began to set, the courtyard glowed golden. For the first time in her life, Folake didn't feel like she had to hide. She didn't feel like she had to fight. She felt seen. She felt heard. She felt home. The wind carried the scent of flowers and the rhythm of celebration through the halls of the palace. Months had passed since the world watched Folake expose one of the greatest tech conspiracies of the decade. Much had changed, and much had bloomed. The courtyard that once held whispers of doubt now rang with the voices of children, coding from bright tablets under wide trees. Young girls drew robots on sketchpads. Boys wrote scripts and stories in local languages, eager to test them on simple apps built at the Folak Institute for Digital Advancement. And Folak, no longer just a princess, had become a name known across borders. Afritech had launched. It began with a modest ceremony in Ile-Ife, but quickly spread. Countries reached out, asking to bring the platform into their schools. African leaders praised it as a game changer. Parents sent thank you letters. Kids sent videos of them building their first lines of code. Every day, Folake read them. "Look what we made today. I want to build a talking tree app. Thank you, Tech Princess." She traveled across cities and villages, standing in school halls, meeting children, handing out devices, and smiling with each success story. In Ghana, a school with no power now had solar tablets. In Kenya, a mobile bus lab brought Afritech to remote areas. In South Africa, Girls once told to stay out of science were now proudly showing off their AI poetry bots. And at every stop, one face was always with her. Tunde, her friend, her partner, her chief technology officer. Together, they designed smarter modules, added local games, built offline learning kits, and trained thousands of new mentors across the continent. He had grown too. No longer the rebellious coder in hiding, Tunde now wore suits when needed, gave talks at conferences, and led tech teams with confidence and charm. One evening, after a long day of meetings and a surprise classroom coding challenge in Abuja, they returned to the palace. Folake walked barefoot on the marble floor, holding her heels in one hand. "My feet are tired," she said, laughing. "Your heart isn't," Tunde replied. "That's what keeps this whole thing going." They stepped onto the balcony. The sun was setting behind the city, painting the sky in soft orange and gold. The lights of the city blinked to life one by one. Folake leaned on the rail. Below, she could hear laughter from the institute where students stayed late, exploring a new lesson on building chatbots in Yoruba. "When we started," she said, "it was just a dream, just a sketch in my notebook. Now it's a movement," Tunde said, "a map to the future." They stood in silence for a while. Then Tunde turned to her, his voice low. "You changed the world, princess." She turned her head, her smile soft. "No," she said. "We did." Behind them, a screen inside the palace lobby lit up with a news alert. Afritech wins Global Education Innovation Award. Over 1 million active learners across Africa. Folake didn't move. She didn't need awards to know what they had done. She looked up at the stars. "The crown never made me strong," she whispered. Tunde nodded. "Your vision did." She reached for his hand. "Let's keep building." He smiled. "Forever." And so the tech princess claimed her throne, not with a crown of gold, but with a heart full of hope and a vision that would outlive any kingdom. Her story became a spark, and the spark lit a continent. This story teaches us that being different is not a bad thing. Princess Folake did not want to follow the old rules. She wanted to build something new. Even when people did not believe in her, she kept going. She worked hard, helped others, and showed that girls can be leaders too. The story tells us to never give up on our dreams, even when the road is hard. If you believe in yourself and do the right thing, one day the world will see your light. Thanks for watching this amazing story about Princess Folake on African Stories by V. If you liked it and felt inspired with her journey, please show your support by clicking the like button, sharing with your friends, and leaving a comment below. To see more interesting stories and learn about different cultures, subscribe to African Stories by V. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Your support means a lot and helps us bring more stories to you. Until we meet again, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep smiling.